Good morning, folks. It is February 25th. It is a lovely, going to be snowy afternoon in Vancouver. And we got trades, baby. We got a Vancouver Canucks trade where they are giving away a young player and a draft pick. And it seems to be a pretty good deal on the surface. So here's the trade coming from the official Vancouver Canucks Twitter. Patrick Levine announcing today the Canucks have acquired Vitali Kravtsov from the New York Rangers in exchange for Will Lockwood and a 7th round pick in the 2026 NHL entry draft. Let's start with that 2026 7th round pick. I could not care less about a draft pick. That is the lowest value draft pick that you are legally allowed to trade, I believe. So it's really just a throw in. Will Lockwood, who the Canucks are giving up in this, let's start there, right? We're talking about a 24-year-old about to turn 25 over this offseason, restricted free agent. He was a 3rd-round pick back in 2016 and a pretty highly touted, 3rd-round pick, high 3rd round, 64th overall, essentially a late 2nd. Has had 28 NHL games with the Canucks, 1.11 PIMs, right? A fight in there and a few minors. Hasn't done anything in Vancouver. And you look at his stats in Abbotsford last year, 25 points in 46 games. This year, 18 points in 26 games. So a bit of a step up, but we're talking about a player who is a winger. Wingers don't have a lot of value. A player who will already be 25 going into this offseason. A player that doesn't have a ton of value, right? A restricted free agent as of the end of the season as well. So the Canucks would have to re-sign him. He probably wouldn't be getting much of a raise. And, he probably could go elsewhere and really doesn't have much value. In return for Will Lockwood, who I like as a player and I think stood out as a player who really had a chance to maybe make the team in a 4th-line capacity, didn't end up pulling it off, and did get, of course, some playing time and really didn't make much of it. In return, the Canucks get Vitali Kravtsov, who is a year and a half younger. We're comparing a June 98 birthday to a December 99 birthday. So he's 23. He will be turning 24 in the middle of next season. And a player that has graduated effectively from the AHL and has had sort of a weird development curve with the New York Rangers. A 9th overall pick just 4 years ago, almost 5 years ago, in the 2018 NHL draft. 23 years old, 6'3", 186, played a lot in the KHL, right? He was a KHL player, had 7 points in 35 games in his draft year for, I'm not even going to try, Chelyabinsk Traktor, I guess, in the KHL. After that, they left him in Russia to develop for a year, 21 points in 50 games, which is pretty good for a 19-year-old. Came to Abbotsford the following year, played 39 games there, then got sent back to Russia for 1920, 2021, and then he got a bit of playing time in the NHL in 2021 as well. 4 points in 20 games, back to Russia in 21-22, 13 points in 19 games, and then he came back over to North America for this for this season, 2022-2023, and hasn't done too much. 6 points, 28 games, 3 goals, 3 assists, a +6, which is nice, 6 penalty minutes, which doesn't do anything. And in reality, the Canucks are basically trading a player with 28 NHL games and is a little bit older for a player with 48 NHL games, 10 points, who is a little bit younger, acquiring the Russians, right? You can put him with, maybe he'll get along with, Sergei Gonchar, Andrei Kuzmenko, maybe some chance for some development there. Do I think this is a world breaker of a trade for the Canucks? No. Do I think it is a tidy piece of business, going back to what we talked about quite a bit recently, in the last year or two, these tidy pieces of business? Absolutely. The Rangers, I guess, thought they weren't going to be able to retain this guy or didn't feel like he was worth retaining. The rumor was a guy like Niels Höglander being on the block in exchange for a guy like Kravtsov, and the Canucks lose way less in a guy like Will Lockwood, who really, like I said, 24 years old and has played 28 NHL games, going to be 25 by next season. A player that probably isn't going to have a huge future in the NHL, most likely. Not that Kravtsov necessarily is either, but more draft pedigree, more games played. It just seems like an easy win for the Vancouver Canucks. And if you are the Rangers and you thought we weren't going to resign this guy, we might as well get something for him. You get that late 7th a couple years down the line, and you get a guy like Will Lockwood who maybe can fill in like an injury role if something does come down the pipeline. And it also frees up an NHL roster spot for them as well, right? Because Kravtsov was a healthy scratch for trade-related purposes. And now with, the rumor of Patrick Kane coming in for them, this really just helps them open up a spot. So do I hate the move for the Rangers? No, I think it's a move that they made in an attempt to help get Patrick Kane and maybe gather a little bit for a player who they didn't have much in their future plans. And for the Canucks, you get a higher pedigree player for a guy like Will Lockwood, who people liked, but like I said, probably doesn't have a big future in the NHL. Now, what does this mean for the Canucks going forward? Does this open up more moves potentially down the line? Obviously, Luke Shen is a piece that is being floated around, being a UFA at the end of this year. Who knows? Obviously, they could be involved in a trade involving salary retention. Like Minnesota's already done twice this year. They can't do that anymore. You only get 2 salary retention slots. But theoretically, the Canucks could do something like that in the Patrick Kane swap. So maybe this is 2 GMs getting together, hammering something else out while they're waiting for the Patrick Kane hat to drop. We'll see. Let me know your thoughts on this one, though, in the comments below. For me, it seems like a pretty, again, not hugely monumental, but solid move that makes the team better in the future, even if just marginally. Let me know your thoughts. See you in the next one.